Okay, thank you all for joining us today as we mark another major milestone in our efforts to preserve and protect Long Island's water quality. We're pleased to be joined by some very special guests today. United States Senator Charles Schumer, Senator Todd Kaminsky, Senator John Brooks, Assemblywoman Melissa Miller, Assemblyman David McDonough, Assemblyman Michael Fitzpatrick, Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano, and then Nassau County Legislators Denise Ford, Laura Kern, Arnie Drucker, and Rosemary Walker, Long Beach City Manager Jack Schneerman, Adrian Esposito from Citizens Campaign for the Environment, Stu Gruskin from the Nature Conservancy, John Durso, President of the Long Island Federation of Labor, Dick O'Kane, President, Nassau Suffolk Building Trades, all of our friends in the labor movement, and all of our friends in the environmental community. So thank you all for coming today. So this morning we'll be hearing from several leaders who have been critical supporters in our efforts to restore water quality across Long Island. We'll first watch a video, and then we'll hear from Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano. We'll then hear from Senator Charles Schumer, and then Governor Cuomo. As you know, the governor has made protecting the environment, protecting water quality, really a top priority of his administration. And you look back at this last 7 years and some of the governor's accomplishments, it's really staggering. Taking the EPF from a record cut to where it is now at $300 million. Creating a Clean Water Infrastructure Act, the Clean Water Infrastructure Act, $2.5 billion, generational investment in water quality statewide, and then setting some of the most ambitious climate and carbon reduction goals really across the nation. This is a governor that isn't just doing significant work here in New York State, he's doing significant work nationally, and there isn't a state outside of New York doing the kinds of things for our nation's future like this state. The governor's been particularly focused here on water quality here in Long Island. And when it comes to water quality in Long Island, you all know that nitrogen is public enemy number one. And nowhere is that more evident than on the Reynolds Channel and in the Western Bays. And you all know the impacts. You all know the impacts of this excess nitrogen and what it's done for algal blooms and how that's impacted the ecology of the Western Bays, killing off shellfish, destroying wetlands. And you know now on this 5th year anniversary of Sandy how important wetlands are as our first line of defense against storm surges and coastal storms. So today, we know what needs to be done. Thanks to the leadership of this governor, and the leadership of all of our partners at the local and federal level, we're taking action. We're taking action to protect New York. So let's roll the video.
5 years ago today, Superstorm Sandy wreaked havoc on Long Island and the greater New York area and would become the largest storm to hit the Northeast in recorded history. The storm hit New York State hard and brought with it 100-mile-per-hour winds, heavy rains, and severe flooding, causing unimaginable destruction, totaling more than $60 billion across the region. And Long Island was among the hardest hit areas. In some places on the South Shore, the storm surge was as much as 17 feet high, and across the island, total damage to housing was close to $3 billion. Approximately 100,000 buildings in Nassau and Suffolk counties were damaged or destroyed. Long Island's infrastructure and critical systems also took a huge hit, with more than $5 billion in damages and cleanup costs. Superstorm Sandy brought home the new realities of severe weather, causing us to look at the world differently and prepare for a future of more frequent and more serious storms.
Our weather-related emergencies are much more dangerous than anything we've seen in the past. We went through Hurricane Sandy, and frankly, it was the first time we had gone through something like that, and we learned the hard way.
So in Sandy's wake, lessons were learned. We got to work and built back better and stronger than ever before. On Long Island, the state has awarded more than $1 billion to nearly 10,000 homeowners for repairs, improvements, and elevations to protect against future storms. New York has also invested more than $50 million to buy out 150 properties in Suffolk County and return them to the natural habitat. In addition, hundreds of small businesses on Long Island have benefited from more than $42 million in assistance so they can replace equipment and repair facilities. And a record $730 million has gone to help rebuild the island's power systems while minimizing costs for customers. Today, we have more resilient homes, businesses, infrastructure, and emergency response systems. But the work continues. Governor Cuomo has made record investments to protect water quality, preserve critical wetlands and marshlands, and safeguard the environment in communities across the island. These efforts include the largest ever state investment in clean water with a $2.5 billion Clean Water Infrastructure Improvement Act and $300 million Environmental Protection Fund, a $388 million initiative to connect 10,000 Suffolk County homes to sewage treatment systems, $40 million to build local sewer systems in Smithtown and Kings Park, $10.4 million Long Island Shellfish Restoration Program to harness the power of shellfish to filter our water, $5 million Long Island Nitrogen Action Plan to reduce nitrogen in Long Island surface and groundwater, development of the 10-year Ocean Action Plan to protect New York's ocean resources, state lawsuit challenging the EPA's decision to designate disposal site for dredged materials in eastern Long Island Sound. These unprecedented investments in our environment are making for a cleaner, greener Long Island. But the Bay Park wastewater treatment plant, which has been plagued with problems for decades, remains one of the most critical issues facing Long Island today. It's the largest wastewater facility in Nassau County and serves more than 500,000 people, over 40% of the county's population. Since it was built in 1949, the Bay Park plant has had a devastating impact on our natural resources. The Bay Park plant was a major disaster during Superstorm Sandy, when the facility flooded, sending billions of gallons of sewage into the western bays. Since then, we've invested more than $800 million in the Bay Park plant to fortify the structure, improve treatment systems, and protect it from future severe weather events. Further, the treatment of wastewater at the park facility has been inadequate since the plant was built. Not enough nitrogen was being removed from the sewage before it was discharged, but $30 million in upgrades are already underway to improve treatment systems and ensure that 50% more nitrogen is removed from the sewage before it's discharged. The Bay Park Wastewater Treatment Facility pumps more than 52 million gallons of treated sewage each day. That's 19 billion gallons per year. This massive influx of sewage has steadily degraded water quality throughout the western bays, a vast network of inlets and islands. By the late 1990s, this pollution had closed once vibrant shellfish beds. The impacted area by the Bay Park plant outflow spanned from Atlantic Beach to Point Lookout, affecting dozens of communities and hundreds of acres of waterfront and marsh areas. Environmentalists and government officials alike have been trying to solve this problem for nearly 20 years. The Western Bays Coalition was formed in 2000 to advocate for solutions to the worsening scourge. Plans to construct a brand new 5-mile outfall pipe from the Bay Park plant into the Atlantic Ocean were complicated, costly, and impractical. With a roughly $500 million price tag and up to a decade to build, due to tunnel construction under Long Beach, as well as complex environmental review and deepwater habitat monitoring.
We are not going to stop until we get the outflow pipe from Bay Park, because it is ludicrous to be dumping the treated sewage right there on the coast.
Today, we are announcing the Bay Park wastewater treatment problem is finally being solved, thanks to our new innovative approach and intense commitment to protect Long Island. Together, we're taking bold action to ensure clean water for Long Island with a long-term solution for the Bay Park plant. It's a solution that can be done quickly, safely, and affordably. This new plan for Bay Park will divert the treated wastewater from the plant through an abandoned aqueduct under Sunrise Highway to an existing outfall pipe. To do this, we will construct a 2-mile, 72-inch connecting pipe system north from the Bay Park plant to the county-owned aqueduct that runs under Sunrise Highway. Rehabilitate an 8-mile stretch of the aqueduct by removing existing gate valves and slip-lining the 72-inch abandoned main with a fiberglass pipe, and build another 2-mile, 72-inch connecting pipe system from the aqueduct south to the existing Cedar Creek outfall. Treated sewage will travel 6.5 miles through the existing Cedar Creek outfall pipe to be diffused nearly 3 miles into the Atlantic Ocean, instead of dumped into a warm, shallow bay. This will eliminate up to 90% of the nitrogen pollution in Reynolds Channel and the Western Bays, which will rapidly restore the ecosystem and protect coastal communities vulnerable to the effects of severe weather. This project will have a total cost of $354 million. New York State and Nassau County will contribute over $277 million, and $77 million will come from federal resources. It is an investment that will pay dividends for decades and decades, protecting lives, energizing Long Island's economy, and improving the quality of life for Long Island residents and visitors. There is a silver lining to Superstorm Sandy. 5 years after the storm, Long Island is better, stronger, and cleaner than it was before.
Please welcome to the stage Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano.
Thank you. It's great to be here. What a great day. Much better than 5 years ago when I look around this room and many of you people joined together to fight Superstorm Sandy. So today I'm thrilled once again to be here with the great governor from New York State, Governor Cuomo, and Senator Schumer, and all my colleagues in government. I know we have a number of people that were announced from Nassau County and legislators, and certainly the environmental leaders and the union leaders and all those that came together to have a great interest in putting forward the most important environmental project that our island has seen in the last 50 years. That's how historic and significant today is. And this could not be possible, once again, without the partnership and cooperation of Governor Cuomo and his team. I want to thank them and recognize them for joining with us, as well as Senator Schumer, coming up with some money to fight together, to cobble together the money necessary to move forward this most important project. I don't think I could say it better than the video did. It's insane that this treated sewage has been pumping into Reynolds Channel for the last 50, 60 years, and this is a great, innovative solution that will help protect our shoreline and restore our waters in the Western Bays. And that's why I'm thrilled that everybody has come together to support this project. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my team from DPW. We were presented with a problem, and once again, our county team came up with a wonderful solution. As the governor said, and as the video pointed out, $700 to $800 million project. That's what this started at. And we found a way to cut that almost in half. And working together with the state and federal government, we're down to a project that is affordable and doable and must be done. But if my team from DPW, I know Rob Walker is here, I know Sheila Shai, I think Mr. Ahern is here back there. I can't see everybody that's there, but stand up and just be recognized real quick. There. Can't see with the bright lights, but I know we have a number of people, so I'm not going to start with names. But really, today's announcement represents yet another milestone down the path to recovery. There's a smart, creative solution to clean up our water resources, protect our environment, and deliver for our residents. We wouldn't be here without the commitment and dedication of Governor Cuomo. Governor Cuomo was there for us in the immediate aftermath of the storm, and he has continued to be by our side every step of the way here in Nassau County. I really do want to stress that relationship and how it has helped our residents in a nonpartisan way He has been there time and time again. I just want to state that publicly. Great communication. The governor recognizes the importance of our unique natural resources, understands the challenges we face, and is stepping up for our communities. So I want to thank him and my colleagues at all levels of government who are building a better future for Long Island. It's now my pleasure to introduce another champion for Long Island whose support for this project has been instrumental, and that is Senator Chuck Schumer.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to be here. I want to thank all of my colleagues who were here, Governor Cuomo, Ed Mangano, our state legislators, our great Commissioner Segos. I'd like to thank DEC for doing that wonderful film. They even made sewage look not too bad. Did you notice the doctored pictures of the sewage? And I'd like to thank the Barry and Florence Friedberg Center, who does a great job here. We'll speak about federal money. We were able to get them some federal money when there were all kinds of threats to centers. I've never been here. And when I drove up with all these government buildings and sewage stuff, I was wondering. I said, maybe it's really the JCC doesn't stand for Jewish Community Center, but some kind of sewage type thing. But they couldn't have called it the Barry and Florence Friedberg sewage plant, could they? No. Okay. So it's great to be here, and I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about this great project, and since this is the 5th anniversary of Sandy, the great progress we've made here on Long Island in the aftermath of Sandy. We all remember what happened. It was devastating. And you'd go and see people just totally wiped out. Their homes gone, their communities gone. To me, something so poignant was going down the streets, whether it's on the south shore of Nassau County or Suffolk County in Long Beach, where so many of our elected officials are here, and just seeing people's whole lives piled out on the street. Their homes were flooded. And the heirlooms that families had had, the pictures through the generations, all the furniture, your favorite chair that you used to sit in, maybe the note that Grandma sent you a few weeks before she passed away, all gone. It was devastating, just devastating. But we always knew Long Island would come back because of the spirit and toughness and strength and love of this beautiful area. And that's what happened. It's amazing how things have turned around. I want to salute all of those in the federal government who helped us with that Sandy aid, that $60 billion package, including, in bipartisan way, Peter King. You know, Peter has had guts to stand up for New York, and right now, he and I are leading the fight to make sure they let you continue to deduct your property tax, your income tax, and your sales tax. And I want to thank the governor for his help in that regard as well. But what we did with Sandy was, the Sandy money was a first. We said, and this applies to Bay Park, we said we're not just going to rebuild. In the past, FEMA would just want to rebuild exactly what was there. And God forbid there's another flood, another Sandy in a way, it would all go again. So we had to change the way FEMA worked and said, no, no, no. We're going to build better and more resilient. We're not just going to put the same stuff back. And we did. So there are homes that are no longer just being rebuilt, but are being elevated. The roads we have built are going to be stronger. We're not just going to put sand back on the beaches, but for the first time since 1950s, we have a FIMP that will protect us from Nassau all the way, from Montauk all the way to the Nassau-Queens border. We have a beautiful new boardwalk, Jack, in Long Beach. All with those federal dollars. All with those federal dollars. And we had a great partnership with the state, with the county, and with the local governments to make sure that they got what they needed. And it's amazing. You go back to these South Shore areas that were completely flooded, and they're alive and kicking. The best is yet to come for all of these communities because of the dollars we put in. For those who say we don't need disaster relief, come to Long Island and see what it has enabled us to do. For every dollar the federal government put in, they probably got $4 or $5 back in terms of jobs and revitalization and everything else. And we said to our dear friends in the Texas delegation, who led the fight against Sandy money and voted against Sandy money, we're not going to do the same to you. We're Americans, we're New Yorkers. When any area is hurt, we stand up for that area that is hurt, no matter where they are. And I want to say to my colleagues, that also means Puerto Rico today, as well as Texas and Florida. So, we're bigger and better than ever, as the nice film showed. And that applies to Bay Park as well. And here's another shout out. So the governor and I were always struggling. We needed an outfall pipe. Now that was not destroyed in Sandy because it never existed. And we all knew that Bay Park had created trouble long before Sandy because there was, the population in Nassau had grown so since the plant was built. And it would dump horrible nitrogen and everything else into these shallow bays in the western end of Long Island and ruin them for clamming and fishing and boating and swimming. And one of the main reasons we love Long Island is the beautiful water on our north side, our south side, and the water we drink. And to destroy these beautiful areas was horrible. And so what we did is we had to come up with solutions. Now for Bay Park itself, since it existed, we were able to do everything we needed to do. $810 million in FEMA money, not just to rebuild Bay Park, but to make it resilient. When the next flood comes, God forbid, Bay Park will stand strong. Because $431 million, construction unions, all with union labor. And we won't let them do anything in the infrastructure bill without building union. You can be assured of that. But $431 million went to restore, but $378 million went to make it resilient, better than before, more protected than before. And that all worked out great. We even got $150 million to upgrade the nitrogen removal system, which hadn't been there before. But our big dilemma was the outfall pipe. Because even the way we could creatively write the laws so we could get more money for more jobs and more resilience, the outfall pipe didn't exist. So you can't say you're going to make it more resilient when it wasn't there. And the governor and I would talk about this. $1 billion to build a pipe, whoa. And we couldn't really find the money. I tried to get this HMGP money to apply to the outfall pipe. And we couldn't do it because there was nothing in existence there. There is $1.3 billion in HMPG money, which went to many existing projects, but it couldn't be for this. So then, and this is what America is all about, even in this day and age, community leaders, people from the community, the indefatigable Adrian Esposito came up. We usually like her when she's indefatigable. Once in a while, not so much. But in any case, came up with this great idea of not building the outfall pipe, but using the aqueduct and using, and I didn't even know this till the governor just told me, that part of this pipe was an existing New York City water pipe. I guess they used to bring water in from, it was steel, nah, I won't say that. We want to all be united, bringing water from Long Island to here. And so this plant only cost $354 million, much less, and did the same job. And that doesn't mean we don't spend the rest of the $1.3 billion. We'll spend it. The governor will spend it on other things, which is good. So I want to salute Ed Mangano and the whole community for coming up with this great, great new plan and putting it together. And we were able to get some federal help because part of the pipe is sort of, we managed to squeeze it in, it's existing. So we can upgrade the existing part, and we will have about $77 million in federal money. So this, the whole deal, post-Sandy was a terrible tragedy. People lost so much. But just like after 9/11, when we saw the destruction and the horror there and so many of our brethren were lost, we never lost faith in New York. We never lost faith in Long Island. And this Bay Park plant is a metaphor for how great we can do things when we work together. We can build it back. We can build it better. We can accept input from the community and do things that were never done before. So, this is a great day for Long Island, but the best days for Long Island are yet to come. Thank you very much, and have a great, great day.
Please welcome to the stage Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. First, to all my colleagues who are here on the state level, let's give them a round of applause. Our senators, assemblymen, County Executive Ed Mangano and his DPW team, Senator Chuck Schumer, who's doing a great job for us fighting the state and local deductibility, which will end life as we know it on Long Island. Our DEC Commissioner, Basil Sagos. Let's give him a round of applause. And to our brothers and sisters of the labor movement who rebuilt Long Island and built it back better. You know, it's almost hard for me to believe that it's been 5 years since Sandy, because in some ways it was just yesterday, because it was traumatic. And everybody has a memory that's just sealed in their mind off that occasion. I remember being on Staten Island, watching houses get washed out to sea like driftwood. I remember standing on a block in Lindenhurst, and we were just watching the water coming up the block, and there was nothing we could do. And we're throwing sandbags to block the water, which was like throwing pebbles into the ocean. I remember being in a warehouse with Ed Mangano and Steve Ballone with flashlights looking at a map with the LIPA personnel to try to locate which transformers needed to work to put the power back on, and LIPA having no idea what they were talking about. It was frightening. It was frightening. I remember the powerless feeling of hugging people who had lost everything, nothing to say, nothing to do. It was a trauma. And that's why it feels like it was just yesterday. 60 lives lost, 300,000 homes destroyed or damaged, 2,000 miles of roads. And then the afterwards was compounding chaos. There's no power. We have to get the power back on. We need 6,000 crews to get the power back on. We don't even have the poles. We don't even have the material. There's no power, so there's no gasoline. How can that be? because the fuel is delivered through a pipeline that has pumps that run on electricity. Well, we'll use the gas that's in the gas stations. You can't. Gas stations have pumps that run on electricity. And one after the other after the other. It was just a situation where the chaos compounded itself after over and over and over. And you wondered what was going to happen. People were angry, people were frustrated, people were scared. You wondered what was going to happen. I've been in Puerto Rico twice the past couple of weeks. I was there a few days ago. The feeling is the same feeling that Long Island had. That feeling of despair, that feeling of isolation, that feeling nobody cares. What's going to happen? Is my life ever going to come back together? But 5 years later, we're here, we're better, we're stronger than ever before. Why? Because we remember the golden rule. Today is October 29th. On October 29th, 1941, Winston Churchill gave one of his most famous speeches. They call it the Never Give Up speech. It was after the war. He went back to a school, the Harrow School that he attended, and they sang him the school song, and they changed the school song to say the years of darkness, to refer to the years of the war. Churchill got up hearing the change in the song and said, I don't want to say years of darkness. It was challenge, it was a learning experience, but we're the better for it. Because as long as you never give in, then you persevere, you will overcome. And his quote was, never give in. Never, never, never give in. And that was his motto. And that is exactly what we did here in Long Island. We didn't give in. And we learned. And we're the smarter for it. And Long Island is the better for it. We have a new recognition. Climate change is real. Period. To deny climate change is to deny science, is to deny reality. I mean, how much more proof do you want? 1 year after the other, every year hotter, the worst hurricanes, highest numbers of hurricanes. Let's put it this way. Either there's climate change or Mother Nature is having a nervous breakdown, okay? Either way, we're going to have to deal with it. But we learned that lesson. We learned that Mother Nature designed the landscape for a reason. There were marshes for a reason. There were grasslands for a reason. There were islands for a reason. And when you redesign it to be close to the water, don't be surprised when you're close to the water, right? We learned that if you're not prepared for a storm, the day after is too late to prepare for it. We learned that homes that are built on a wetland and a floodplain, they are on a temporary lease. The land is owned by Mother Nature, and she's going to come back and reclaim it, and those homes are going to be gone. We learned to build with resiliency and put homes on piers and buildings on piers. We learned to set up fuel reserves. We learned to have backup generators where we need them. We now have backup generators at all the key gas stations on Long Island. We learned to make our power grid more resilient. And we learned the fragility of the earth and how really delicate this entire balance is. But when we stick together, we can do things that are hard. And all the great things we have done have been hard. Building a new LaGuardia Airport is hard. Building a new Tappan Zee Bridge is hard. We just got the plan to modernize the Long Island Railroad approved after 70 years. It was hard. planting 200,000 shellfish is hard. It's all hard. Building a $400 million sewer system in Suffolk is hard, but it's necessary. Bay Park was hard. $800 million in hardening expense. $800 million. And then for years, the riddle of we need to change the discharge. You can't discharge the effluent in Reynolds Channel, right behind Long Beach. I mean, what were we thinking? 20 years, 50 gallons per day of effluent in those shallow bays. All those beautiful communities that wanted to live by the water, that great magnet that makes Long Island, Long Island. 50 gallons of effluent per day. And 20 years ago, we knew we had to do something. But nothing happened. Why? Well, because it's hard. It's expensive. It's complicated. It's hard. Yeah, I know. But we have to be willing to take on those things that are hard and that are difficult. It is a sin that we allowed that plant to operate for that length of time. So we kept going back to the drawing board and back to the drawing board. And Senator Schumer's exactly right. We tried to get the federal government to pay. It was some astronomical number that wasn't eligible. But Nassau County never gave up. DEC never gave up. DPW, Nassau County DPW, found the aqueduct, unused aqueduct, belonging to New York City or whoever. I don't even want to know who owns it. All I know is we're taking it. But and they wouldn't give up, and now they've come up with a sensible plan. Build a pipe up to that aqueduct, a liner across, and then come out the Cedar Falls outflow, which was exactly the intention that we wanted to do at Bay Park. It will change the nature of all those bays and all those communities. No effluent. Just imagine the difference in the quality of life. Imagine the kids who now can go swimming and not worry about it. Imagine how the fish can recover. And if you can do what we did in Bay Park, we should take that today, on this 5th anniversary, and say, you know what? We can do these things. There is nothing written in stone. There is no challenge that we can't overcome. Nothing has to be that way. Even on Long Island. Well, NIMBY, NIMBY, NIMBY. I know NIMBY. See these scars? That's called NIMBY for the Long Island Railroad. I get it. But I also get we can't let the Bay Parks operate for 20 years. I also get we can't allow these brown tides to continue year after year after year getting worse. I also get that we can't allow the algae blooms to continue year after year after year by dumping more nitrogen into the water. It has to stop. I also get that we have to stop talking about the Bethpage plume and do something about it, and do something about the Grumman pollution. We have to preserve the pine barrens. We have to preserve more open space. We have to get ahead of this issue on the quality of drinking water and the testing of drinking water, because we want to make sure every Long Islander can trust their faucet when they turn on that valve, that water is clean to drink. And that's a challenge that we can't back down from. we can do all these things. We survived Sandy. We built back stronger than ever before. We worked together. Senator Schumer got the federal government to deliver. The county, Nassau, Suffolk, the state all worked together, and we built back a better Long Island. Bay Park is a perfect example of it, but it's all across Long Island that's better. Let's say on this 5th anniversary, we prove to ourselves that we can do things that we had given up on. We can do things that we thought were impossible because they were just too big, they were too complicated, they were too expensive. That's not who we are. That's not the blood that's in our body. That's not the DNA that's in our cells. We are New Yorkers. We made this place out of nothing. There is nothing that we can't do when we stick together and we are committed to doing it. That's Churchill saying, never give in. And that's what Bay Park says, and that's what everyone in this room says who stayed on Long Island and built it back better than ever before. Thank you, and God bless you.
Please welcome back to the stage Commissioner Basil Sagos.
All right, let's give Governor Cuomo, Senator Charles Schumer, and County Executive Mangano another round of applause. On behalf of all of us, I want to thank you all for coming today. Thank you for being a part of this with us. And let's see this thing all the way through. Have a good day.